Hey everybody, today is April 14th, and today we're doing all business. There's literally nothing in here but business, and it's going to be a really long section at that. Like, really long.
And Bloomberg trigger warning for the first story.
Yeah.
You're going to see that nasty paywall. I know, it's terrible. But this is about the big Reddit stock activism. You don't hear much about that anymore.
Yeah.
I think they are still active. There's a core group that's still doing stuff, but they don't have headlines about it. It's not exciting anymore. And it seems like the time horizon for when the magic spell starts to wear off might be right about now.
Reddit fueled penny stock insanity is scaling back as of this point. I didn't get the headline exactly right, but no, they're not talking about GameStop. That's what I thought when I first read the headline. But they're talking about some Australian like media social something.
It was some company that I don't know why they picked it.
Yeah,
But it was a pay later app.
Oh.
So you can, it's called IOUpay. So you can buy something and pay with the app, and then you pay them back.
I get the feeling this story was written by Bloomberg because of the whole GameStop thing, and they really wanted it to be about GameStop, but this is the best they could find.
Yeah, I don't know. So that went up 6,400%, but they paint a very dire picture on the actual financial health of this company. Because there's another competitor with a way better product that just launched it.
Sounds like normal penny stock stuff to me.
Well, that is kind of the Wild West, but there was definitely some help from Reddit. So I hope you're not hodling IOUpay. Bad time for that. We got some more chips to talk about that probably aren't going to be for sale, but this is data center stuff, so maybe it won't be quite as effective. And 10 nanometers. Hey, they finally did it, right? Good job.
Intel has launched third-gen Xeon Scalable 10-nanometer Ice Lake SP to supercharged data centers. There's some really interesting stuff here. There's not that many of these processors are actually 10 nanometer. Some of them are Cooper Lake, so still 14 nanometer. Well, these are chips for, they are up to 40 cores, so there's that. And I tried to price one of these systems at Dell, and Dell was just like, no, this is not going to happen until like May. So,
but they did lower the prices versus the last generation.
Yes.
But are the retailers?
Is anybody going to be able to buy them?
Yeah.
I don't know. I really want to get my hands on one or two to play with in a server. The TDP has gone up as well. This is it's like they should have saved a ton of power on the smaller lithography, and yet it needs more power.
So yeah, it's hard to get excited about chips right now. This one, you got to take this headline in with considering all the other stuff that happened around this week. All of the bad press Amazon is getting, and there is a lot of it, and it's mostly about the unions. And if you were looking down all those barrels and saying to yourself, I have got to improve our image, what could I do? This could be what you could do.
Jeff Bezos comes out in support of increased corporate taxes. But when you dig into this, it's insane. And it's also brilliant, but it's also insane. You know how during this global situation that we find ourselves in, a lot of small businesses have gone under? He wants to see the tax set up such that those small businesses could never, ever come back. Only Amazon could handle a corporate tax in the way that he wants to handle the corporate tax.
And I think this sentence boils down to what he's trying to accomplish here. It's not that he wants to be taxed corporately. It's that he wants a seat at the table when it's decided.
We recognize this investment will require concessions from all sides, both on the... What?
Why do we have to take concessions for you, Mr. Bezos?
Yeah.
Why do you need concessions?
Both the specifics of what's included as well as how it gets paid for. So this is a move that will cement Jeff Bezos as the conglomero of our generation. You will never be able to get, Aunt Irma's baked goods that you used to love and enjoy. Ain't happening. It's all Amazon Bakery and Whole Foods now. They're not coming back.
And you just alluded to this, one of those headlines that is so nasty this week that he needs to try and sweeten a little bit by saying something like that has to do with all the businesses that he's destroyed over the years. These are the ghosts coming back to haunt him.
Amazon is the target of Small Business Antitrust Campaign. The National Coalition of Small Businesses to push for more forceful antitrust measures is saying that Amazon competes unfairly. So, the story about the camera bag or the tripods or anything that we have covered in the past, all of those small businesses all have a similar story about Amazon muscling them out. It's like, well, at first I was selling my stuff on Amazon, and then Amazon was selling something really similar to my stuff that they had made in China really cheap. And then I lost all my business, and now I'm out of business. And there's a lot of those people in this coalition. A lot.
And this is kind of the Icarus story for big tech, don't you think?
Yeah.
Because once you cross a certain size, people start to gang up against you. Not only other businesses, but also your workers. And they're going to have a bad time. Unless they can defeat it, which up in the air at this point.
They could control it if they control the government. He who controls the spice.
They're working on it.
I mean, it's kind of like that with the Amazon toilet paper. It wasn't the spice. It was literally just mail delivery toilet paper. Because you're going to get it locally? No. I've made sure that the local companies have no toilet paper.
So, yeah, that's... We'll see. I think Amazon will easily weather this, but it's going to hurt their profits.
only in the short term. In the long term, it's going to cement their position as a fixture of the American household.
What do you think that it'll sort of consume itself? It'll splinter because of the various people after he dies, or will that be able to hang on?
No, I think that it'll only become even more insidious and dark. Like it'll be like the Amazon. Like, you know, we have Capitol Hill. It'll be like Amazon Prime Capitol Hill.
I guess if we had to look to the past for like Sam Walton,
yeah,
pretty much that's what happened with him. Yeah. If you are one of the people who, I mean, we have bad internet around here, so we definitely feel that. But if you're one of the people who only has a wireless hotspot to work from, I feel your pain. And not just because of the terrible latency and service that you're experiencing and the high prices, but also the house fires.
Verizon recalls 2.5 million hotspot devices due to fire hazard. They were, they call them quote-unquote jet packs made by Franklin Wireless, sold between April 2007 and March 2017 and March 2021. Turns out they had a lithium-ion battery pack in them. It would keep them overcharged. Lithium-ion battery packs don't like to be constantly overcharged. They can't wait to catch on fire.
So the fix was to prevent charging while in use, which has to be super annoying.
Yeah.
Because when would you not want your wireless hotspot to be active when you're at home charging it? Makes sense. Christy, I don't believe that you've told us you got gigabit now, right?
No. We're not bad, but we're better than what we were, but we don't have full fiber.
I thought you had fiber.
I don't think so. No. We did speed tests. We're not getting we're getting good speeds, better than what we did, but
you're still on cable then?
Yeah.
Oh man, I thought you told us that you had fiber at the new house.
I thought we did, but our speed tests don't quite live up to that. But they're still really good. So I certainly stream better here than I did at my old apartment. So, which is weird considering where I am, which is like the middle of nowhere.
Well, Texas, the news cycle, and maybe most of the country has forgotten what happened in Texas, that horrible, horrible episode they had with the ice. But the regulators have not forgotten about it, and they are trying to make some laws that are going to fix it. And I don't know much about power regulation and the grid and stuff like that, I'll admit, but at the first glance, this doesn't sound like the solution to me.
Mm-mm.
Amazon warns Texas, don't pass a bill that would drive up the wind power costs. So, yeah, the whole power grid failure in Texas, it got a little political. But it turns out that Amazon has invested a lot of money, and they get subsidies, like federal subsidies and some other stuff. So if Texas messes with what Amazon is doing for renewables, it messes with their carbon credits, it messes with their federal tax credits, it messes with a lot of things. And so Amazon has said, don't do that, we'll leave.
And it does seem like what they were trying to pass kind of caters to the fossil fuel stuff.
Oh, it's Texas, absolutely it does.
How delightfully dysfunctional.
I have learned in all of this, one thing I've definitely learned about the whole power grid system is how difficult it is to balance it.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
Oh yeah, I was reading more about that based on comments from, was it the last video?
I don't remember, but
Because we were like, how is it this bad in Australia? And it was like, it's still a symptom of Australia's own making. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, that's
they
where
did
they
it to
were-
themselves.
where they were charging it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they can't have an imbalance on either side.
Yeah.
But it seems like batteries
Yeah.
could fix that.
Like Elon Musk was like, let's deploy a whole bunch of power walls. And I hate to be like Elon Musk is the savior, but he totally did exactly that in Australia. And it was fine. That was on the Gold Coast, I think. They need to do that everywhere.
It's like these Texas lawmakers have never played RimWorld. Because an eclipse or a heat wave, it's going to mess with your power strategy.
You've got to have multiple forms of power.
And you got to store them in batteries. This is a great headline. And they were very careful on how they explained this. And basically, it can make sense if you really twist your mind around it. But come on. This was just a blatant lie.
Amazon finally acknowledges delivery driver bathroom problem. They tried to frame it in that all delivery drivers or anybody who works in a vehicle has a problem with bathrooms because most businesses don't allow drivers to use the restroom and blah, blah, blah.
But specifically, the guy that tweeted, his excuse was, oh, I thought we were only talking about warehouse workers, not the drivers. Which there are way more of, right?
We definitely have done stories about the warehouse workers having pee bottles.
Oh, yeah, I think it was a lie either way you look at it. But that was his excuse.
So I have to stand in my square and pick a certain number of packages per hour, and it's an impossibly high number.
He also blamed traffic and rural settings and not the impossible delivery expectations. Those are not part of it.
There used to be random outhouses along rural roads, but that has since not a thing anymore.
Amazon has the money. They should just sponsor rural rest stops that double as package pickup centers. And you could give them a kiosk and they could Amazon shop there. That's what you do. And then meth heads move in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, then they strip it for copper. And
We can't have nice things.
Amazon then also employs their own Judge Dredd at every location, and it's like, oh, I think you're breaking in. I'm authorized to use deadly force.
If you recall, was it Ireland where they sank that data center?
I can't remember.
That sounds right.
It was Microsoft, but they
Yeah.
It was a European country. Maybe it was Scotland or Ireland or one of those places. And they said, you know what? We're just going to put an entire data center. We're going to seal it up, watertight. We're going to dump it in the river. And that'll keep it cool. And everybody said, wow, that sounds kind of crazy. But it turns out it worked beautifully. Almost none of the hardware failed while it was down there. And they apparently learned a lot from it. Now, they're not doing that, but they're doing something even more impressive.
Microsoft is now submerging servers into liquid baths. They described it as a giant bathtub. They're using a fluid that boils at about 50 degrees C, and it'll condense and turn back into a fluid. But this doesn't require any kind of mechanical circulation. Just the fact that it's heating up and cooling off is fine.
Well, it's like it condenses into steam, and then that cools it. It drops down as rain. It's raining in the server center. That's hilarious, and that is all the cooling that it needs. That's incredible. How much do you think
cool
that fluid
pictures in
costs
here, too.
per liter?
It always shows up at like Computex and trade shows and stuff. It's like $100 a gallon.
What do you lose with every cycle?
I think
Is
if
it
you
perfectly sealed?
can, if you can seal it, it's good forever.
That's cool.
That's neat.
Interesting stuff. Also, what a great way to freak somebody out. It's like, oh, I'm throwing you in the boiling oil. I'm like, oh no. And then they get in, it's like, oh, this is just uncomfortably warm. I don't actually know the conversion. What is 50C?
It'd be a little over 100 degrees.
Yeah. That's just a nice little hot tub.
Like a bath, yeah.
Although the guy that was handling the server was wearing gloves, I don't know.
Well, it's probably a little caustic. Yeah. Probably
Yeah.
not something you want on your skin. But for one prank, that'd be fine.
It's a prank, bro.
This is a headline that, we don't need to keep covering it, but it's not getting any better. That's the thing to keep in mind.
GM slows production in some plants due to semiconductor chip shortage.
Still can't get them. Unfortunate.
To an extent, this is the automotive industry's own fault, but that's fine.
How many things that are bad about the automotive industry at this point could you not say that about?
That is true.
But I have gone on record of saying that I am not interested in an electric car at all. Zero interest. But I gotta say, I kind of want an electric Silverado. The truck is pure utility for me. And I think an electric version would be way better.
GM is building an electric Chevy Silverado with a 400-mile range. The electric pickup battle is just beginning. The article doesn't say if that's empty or loaded. That's 400 miles of range. Empty is much less impressive.
And that's also the very top tier model.
Yeah.
The entry level isn't going to get anywhere near that.
Yeah.
But if you gave me 200, I'd still be fine with it. Because I'm not making long trips in my truck.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Trips to the hardware store.
Chrissy, you are in the market for a truck. You should get an electric Silverado.
We'll probably maybe buy one maybe next year. Or maybe like end of this year. But I had to load dirt and hay into my little tiny car the other day. And it was fine. It was fine. But a truck would have been better.
Did you just line the trunk with something?
No. I just let it all
Just
go
went in
there.
raw?
No, I mean they were packaged. Like there's
There's
plastic around the dirt, but it would have been better probably. I also had like blueberry plants in there.
Well, if you are excited about the electric vehicle industry, one of those cars one of the choices that has come up, it's, for some insane reason, they decided to make the Mustang a crossover, hideous monstrosity and make it electric. Well, why use that name again? But you can get them. However, you might want to wait and adopt this a little later.
Bad software is turning some Mustang Mach-Es into electric bricks. Now, they say they fixed it in February, so, if you buy one now, theoretically the dealer has fixed it. But it turns out it's got a traditional lead-acid battery because they just retrofit. And it also has, like, the lithium polymer battery. And the lithium polymer battery will like, SIP charge the lead-acid battery, except when it's on charge. And so, the global situation that we're in now, these have been sitting in people's garages. The lead-acid battery goes dead, then the thing won't start, and there's nothing you can do.
And it is manufacturer recommendation to always keep it plugged in.
Yeah.
Which is exactly the thing that kills the little battery.
Oops.
This kills the battery.
Of course, as we learned with the Verizon story, you don't want to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Dear God, don't do the opposite.
See also those Tesla stories where when you wreck a Tesla bad enough that it shreds the battery, the battery shrapnel that spreads everywhere cannot be put out. It has to just burn until it runs out of fuel.
And they're basically just little shotgun slugs that are on fire. Really, really hot fire.
That set everything else on fire. Things that you wouldn't think would burn eventually will burn.
It's like the dragon's breath incendiary shotgun shells. Tesla famously built their giant factory in China and then started to maybe brush up against the Chinese government a little bit. They weren't completely excited about all the things that Tesla did. And it seems like that might be playing out once again in Germany.
Tesla's on a collision course with Germany's biggest union. That's IG Metall, the people that are working on the YouTuber union. Neither side is likely to back down, according to Business Insider.
So Tesla, it turns out, they opened up this plant. Now, it is not compulsory to be a part of this union if you make cars in Germany, but no other car company is accepted from it. They all negotiate with this union. And Tesla just didn't return their phone calls. So
Neat.
It's a question of, can this union let this precedent be set? And of course they cannot. So they point out they can try and do strikes, they can try to do slowdowns, they can try to do work stoppages. There's a lot of nasty things they can do that I'm sure we'll be hearing Elon Musk tweet about in the near future.
I just want to provide jobs. Also, the people need to work 12 hours a day and not have the same protections as other workers in that industry.
Also,
but I'm just providing jobs.
Also, my friend Jeff says you'll be totally fine peeing in a bottle.
We're going to give them the nicest bottles. We're going to give them like a little bottle holster to
It's
strap
going to be
on,
embroidered with Tesla on the side.
like a drop leg pouch. And we're going to have every Monday, the first person to fill their bottle all the way up wins a $50 gift card. You talked about this last week as your favorite April Fool's joke. I don't know why it's your favorite. Is it just your favorite because it was so terrible?
Yes, it was so poorly executed.
It's kind of a dad joke, yeah.
This is what happens when you let a marketing agency run amok.
And also, when the marketing, having marketing people without any sort of filter in front of them, speaking to the public, is kind of like Elon Musk without a filter in front of him, speaking to the public. And it results in the same kind of problems.
Volkswagen could end up in hot water over its Voltswagen marketing stunt. See, Volkswagen electric vehicle, because they didn't run that by shareholders. Being a publicly traded company, there's certain rules you have to follow. If you change direction of the company or something dramatic happens, you have to run that by shareholders because that could affect the shareholders' interest in your company.
And you certainly can't publicly lie about it, which an April Fool's joke, by definition, a public lie. So I don't think they'll hit them too hard for that.
Probably not.
But hopefully it's a cautionary.
I think this was definitely it was a PR stunt. It was always a PR stunt, but they were secretly like, well, if everybody really likes it, we could do it.
Oh, you think there was a possibility that it wasn't fake?
Yeah.
Wow.
There was I think they were testing the waters just to see what the reaction would be. And then if it went really well, they were like, yeah. Because Volkswagen is pretty brilliant. I mean, I have to give them that. That's clever. It's a pun. I like it. But also, really, I mean, after about an hour, it's worn off.
But if the marketing team comes to you and they say, we don't know, they might like it, and then this happens, doesn't that tell you need a new marketing team?
Yes.
Well, Krista, you've been experimenting with buying in bulk now that you're a homeowner. How's that going?
Well, I mean, we've been doing that since last year. I like buying in bulk, personally.
You can save a lot of money doing that. You can certainly find savings opportunities, but there's some things you should never buy in bulk.
Yes.
And I think this is certainly an illustration of that.
Best Buy's new beta program promises concierge tech support for $200 a year.
I'm not really seeing the value add here when I read this article.
That is unlimited tech support. There's going to be a certain part of the population who are going to hit this like every 2 weeks or every week.
I think all the elderly should sign up for this because they're just lonely.
Yeah, and they're going to be showing up, and the people are going to be like, I don't know, it seems fine now. And it's like, oh, can you just look again?
Yeah.
I made you these brownies.
Yeah, which is good. It's good for them. It's good for Best Buy if they can make money doing that.
It's not good for the people doing the work because they're probably expected to do so many a day.
That should be a service. Someone should make an app for that. That's like, well, I think we did a story about that in the nonsense section a long time ago, where someone was like, "I'll pay me to be your friend." Like, they should do that, but for old people.
Oh, that was the Japanese thing.
Yeah.
Is there a guaranteed to be G-rated Omegle for old people?
No. How would you guarantee it?
I don't know.
That'd be hard.
But that's what we need.
Now, this story, I gotta say, did you not get an overwhelming feeling that this was just an advertisement?
I thought it was, yeah.
I mean, they are just blatantly affiliate linking and doing their best. And the story doesn't back up buying this product. Buying this product won't help you. So CNET is really, I don't know what they're doing here.
Broadband use surged more than 30% during pandemic, industry group says. Maybe it's time to buy a mesh router. This Asus lovely router. Yes, go. Mesh router, home internet.
Consume.
And they'll link you right to it.
Now, your internet connection might suck, but this will give you the most suck you can possibly get for... So is this really like...
Is that,
what?
I was reading that.
What this shows us, and this chart perfectly illustrates, is that broadband use just shot off the scale. And the thing to remember here is that nothing broke.
Yeah, they didn't need to charge us money for overages.
Easily absorbed all of this extra capacity, and we were fine. I mean, look at that.
It's kind of like a water company being like, well, the population of this city has doubled, but we haven't increased the water supply. Oh my gosh, there's a water shortage. And it's like, imagine that, but except that the water is imaginary and exists everywhere.
So, yeah, that's...
An air shortage.
That article points out a lot of disappointing things about our world.
It really does.
Yeah.
But you know what's not disappointing? The Asus mesh router. It will fill the void in your soul. Don't stare into the abyss anymore. Call today.
I guess if that mesh router had good quality of service, maybe it could help you a little bit if you have multiple people in your household. But it ain't going to fix your broadband.
Can it fix your existential dread, though?
I doubt it.
It is a pretty purple color.
It does look cool.
Yeah.
So Starlink. Starlink is the hope of many people, like those people who have those Verizon hotspots burning their houses down. If only they'd had Starlink. And so maybe they'll run out and get it.
How crazy is it that satellite space-based internet is better than local 5G?
That's crazy, yeah. But one thing about it is it seems like SpaceX is kind of hanging on to that egalitarian thing. You aren't going to get special treatment. You get in line like everybody else, you get the same package as everybody else.
SpaceX president says Starlink doesn't plan to offer tiered pricing until a couple of years from now when they don't have enough satellites for the demand, and then they're like, okay, yeah, for the people that are working from home, you can pay more and get more.
But that, unlike broadband, this is a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
If you tier up, you're taking away from somebody else.
Yeah.
Which would only motivate people to buy the higher tier more.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful business model if they go for it.
They will. Don't worry. It
Yeah,
might take
give
a
it
couple
time.
of years, but they will.
Uber has certainly had a weird couple of years with the whole pandemic thing that affected their business model. And they've tried to do certain things to get over it, like many companies have. But like many of those companies, we're kind of getting to a point where they're like, yeah, we can't keep this up forever. Or we could, but it would hurt our profits. And we really like our profits.
Reuters reports that Uber is dangling higher pay to lure U.S. drivers back, but warns that it will not last. So in that business model where it's like, you're a contractor, but we're not going to make any commitments to you. Just do this one job for us. We promise it won't be like last time. And then 3 jobs in, it's like last time and worse.
So
Their entire business model depends on squeezing the driver. So, I mean, come on.
And some of the ways that they kind of responded to the driver complaints when all this first started is they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're now going to be totally transparent with how far you have to drive this person, where you're taking them, and how much they're going to pay you. So this way, everything is known up front. You don't have to worry about where you're going, a bad neighborhood, or whatever. We're going to give you more control. But, like the other thing, that isn't going to last forever.
Uber may stop letting drivers see destinations and name prices. Once again, Uber's business model is fundamentally broken. Uber could be a good thing if it charged, like, its profit margin per ride should be on the order of like $2 or $3, because that's all it costs to run the app and the app infrastructure and the appropriate insurance policies.
Yeah, they could, but I don't think what you're not taking into account there, and I think this is a real cost, is them trying to expand it and get more people to use it and fight Lyft and all that stuff and fight the legislation.
Mostly fight the legislation.
Yeah. So they do have more cost, but I would say there's definitely a middle ground between what you're describing and what they're doing. They would still make plenty of money and people would be happier. That would also destroy the competition or force them to adopt the same.
Which would be a capitalistic move.
Because all the drivers would
Yeah.
flock to one.
If you can't set your own like prices or anything or destinations, doesn't that mean you're not really like a contractor at that point?
Ding, 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 ding.
Well, but
Yeah.
you get the option to take them or not, is their argument. But it's just a black box if they change that back. So you don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like bullshit.
I actually tried to see if Uber operated around here. During the day, it doesn't. But their recommendation is like, oh, we'll just start the job anyway, and then it'll create a surge, and then maybe somebody will show up. But you just have to find out. So,
I thought there was a ride sharing thing for our town.
There is. It's
Yeah.
not Uber.
Oh, okay.
oh, do we have a local one?
Mm-hmm.
Because I say all the college kids, I think, used one of them for the bar crawls.
Good Lord, we've got a lot of stories left.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, the Google AI division has been a source of a lot of drama. They've lost the Gabru, and then I don't remember the other woman's name.
And some other people.
And when they were asked why, it was pretty damning what they said. And so now they had somebody in charge of that, and then somebody else took over being in charge of it because of all that. And now,
Sammy Bengio is the latest name. Hopefully I got your name right. To leave the Google AI unit. So he's resigned. There's not any real drama around his resignation, but you got to figure that, Google executives were looking at this like, please, is there anything we can do to keep you here? And he's just like, no, I'm out.
I'm out.
the morale in the AI division has to be low.
It has to be low. Not just pandemic low, but like really low.
Bitcoin is it's chugging along up there in the 50,000s, but it's certainly not rising meteorically like it has in the recent past. And people are, starting to say, "Oh, is it over? Is it going to go up again?" And a lot of people are weighing in, but one man is weighing in with a completely new take on Bitcoin.
Peter Thiel, he's blaming China. Peter Thiel is blaming China. He's still real. Now, it's funny because he's been, so pro cryptocurrency and all this other kind of stuff, but he's saying this is a Chinese exploit to our economy.
Now he's talking about the reserve currency, which of course is the dollar, and like 70% of transactions. I think the Japan and Germany are 2 and 3, way down the list, and Bitcoin steps aside and bypasses all of that.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for our American exceptionalism? Sure, there'll be some good comments about that. And this headline certainly illustrates what he's talking about, because why would China have an advantage with Bitcoin? Well, maybe because a lot of the Bitcoin is being mined in China.
Bitcoin mining emissions in China will hit 130 million tons by 2024. NVIDIA's first shipment of $30 million of CMX mining cards from Hong Kong to China were also confiscated because China was like, we don't want this. Weird.
Do you think the red lights are functional or just visual?
They're there to give you that Matrix vibe that you feel like a little uncomfortable when you look at it.
Yeah, probably Matrix vibe.
For a business that is all about using as little electricity as possible.
It's funny that was mentioned in the Microsoft server article. They said that a lot of miners were using that liquid immersion technology for cooling because it required less energy than spinning fans, and so that was a cost savings.
Also, probably doesn't heat your building up.
Yeah, as bad. Yeah.
I wonder if you could just circulate the water of, let's say, an apartment building. I know that liquid is non-conductive, but it seems like you could figure out a way
To just heat a building. Yeah.
or the water or whatever, irradiate it.
Just warm it slightly.
Actually, weren't there companies that did that years ago?
Yeah.
Like they built those little houses. I don't think that
You
would
could
work
probably
anymore.
do like underfloor heating with that, right?
I think that's what they did.
Yeah.
But now it's too hard to do just one miner and actually get anything from it. Well, Bitcoin is volatile for sure. And one of the things that a lot of traders like to look for is arbitrage. You're going to buy it in one place, sell it in another, get a nice little spread. However, if you read this headline and you, like Wendell did, have dreams of taking advantage of it,
It's a little harder.
They pour cold water on that right away.
Bitcoin is trading near 66,000 in South Korea as the Kimchi Premium returns. The reason that this exists is because South Koreans have Korean won, and not a lot of exchanges take won. So you can get it over there, but then you have to take won and then convert the won back into dollars, which is the tricky part.
Well, a non-citizen cannot. You cannot register with their exchanges. And vice versa, I think, is also true. It'd be very difficult for you to get spend the dollars, get the Bitcoin, and then get it back into Korea.
15%.
Yeah, that's a lot of money if you could figure it out. I wonder how much the Korean version of the SEC would come down on that. How quickly?
It would be bad. It would be brutal.
Well, the NFT bubble. Is anybody arguing that it's not a bubble? I mean, these prices we are seeing are insane. And is it sustainable? I kind of hope not. I don't know. I mean, the world's crazy. It could be, but I hope it's not.
The NFT bubble might be bursting already, according to CNN Business. They've got some anecdotal evidence here. The novelty has worn off.
So they report some of the highest sellers are down as much as 70%. All these big headlines, about it's NFTs are crazy. A lot of those people probably have a lot of buyer's remorse right about now.
Yeah.
I came up with an idea, and it's controversial, and I can't take advantage of it, but some of you can, and you should, and I expect a fee when you do, because you will make so much money on this, an obscene amount of money. And I'm going to give you 3 words. Are you ready? Racism, indulgence, NFT.
Oh, yeah, the Pope issues those.
It's like, oh, what is this tweet from 2016? Don't worry. Let me just pull up the blockchain here. I paid for that.
I know that was wrong. Here's my penance.
Yeah, exactly. T-Mobile has made some big changes lately. They've changed their business model. They're trying to do different stuff. And I feel like they're trying to catch the bandwagon of municipal broadband.
Maybe.
Don't you think?
Possibly.
Because the way they named this.
T-Mobile launches home internet service and and a small town initiative as part of the Uncarrier move. So this is a small town that has 5G. I think T-Mobile's just looking at the population in this area and saying, we've got like 3 towers here and the population is 5. How are we going to recoup our money? Oh, I know. Let's do this. Because this totally is not going to work in a city. It's not going to work in anything except the most rural areas. And even then, it's still garbage to your internet.
Yeah. And it's still probably one of the last choices you want to go with.
Yeah.
It's just the only thing left.
Unless you live under the tower.
Huh.
In which case, good luck with the lupus.
I don't know if there's any evidence of that. We all know that Apple and Epic hate each other and that they are going to go to war, but that is a war that's going to play out over a long amount of time, most likely. But this is kind of like, one of those old school wars, like Waterloo, where you can sort of see them just lining up on either side of the field. It's like, oh, it's coming. And we're starting to see how they're going to strategize. We don't know exactly yet, but it's playing out.
Another Bloomberg article, Apple and Epic have unveiled their lines of attack in this big lawsuit. So Apple is going to say basically it's 30% is a standard fee. Everything is above board. We vet our applications, although Epic's got some new evidence against that. And Epic is going to argue that the Apple devices are just glorified computers and people ought to be able to run whatever program they want without interference.
Apple is also pointing out the App Store APIs and all of the different things that they have for the walled garden. They claim that is a benefit to Epic because they use Apple's technology to reach customers.
It's a little speculous, I think.
Yeah.
But then you would also have to make the same argument about Google, right?
Yeah.
And Steam and everybody. The Epic Game Store. They've got their own thing. They finally added a back button to that. I can't believe we went almost a year and that didn't have a back button.
I hate the notifications on the Epic App Store.
It is annoying.
I turn it off.
But they do give you those free games.
Yeah.
Microsoft is the subject of a lawsuit, and usually when you hear that, you think, yeah, they're probably in the wrong. But in this case, I don't know. I mean, these guys had a business model that depended on another business. Never a good idea. Although they were completely in legal territory doing it.
ValueLicensing has slapped Microsoft with a £270 million lawsuit for influencing the second-hand software market. So what was happening in the EU, if you sell a piece of software, it's your right to resell it again later. And what would happen was companies that had bought software or were going under or were upgrading were legally entitled to sell their old software. And that's what ValueLicensing does. But now with Office 365, where everybody's moving to a subscription service instead of paying for software outright, certain versions of software still had a 10-year agreement for support. So like Office 2019, for example, originally had a 10-year guarantee for support and licenses and patches and stuff like that. But Microsoft has said, well, if you forego that and you switch to Office 365, we'll give you some pretty big discounts. So instead of selling their software license on a secondary market, they just give it back to Microsoft. Well, Microsoft doesn't do anything with it. It's disposed of because Microsoft doesn't see their software as a tangible good in that way.
Well, there's nothing to dispose of. It's not a tangible good anymore.
So
it's the key.
There you go.
I don't think they're going to win that one.
Seems unlikely, but maybe.
Now, when we were in school, do you remember someone in the computer science department at some point, I'm sure told you because they told me and they told everybody, if you want a guaranteed job coming out of here, might not be exciting, might not pay you a lot of money, but oh boy, if you learn this, you will have a job. COBOL.
COBOL, yeah.
Because almost nobody knows it anymore, and we're still using it.
Yeah.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yep.
Well, guess what? We're still using it. But the good news is, if you want to learn about it and actually try it out, it's easier than ever.
IBM creates a COBOL compiler for Linux on x86. The most amazing thing about this that was not mentioned in the article, there's also a plugin for Visual Studio Code now for COBOL. That's pretty good.
Man, if you're coming from modern programming languages, that's going to be a shock for you.
Yeah.
But, like we say, if you're desperate for a job, have you been seeing all the headlines that apparently there's a massive worker shortage in the U.S. right now?
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all. I thought we were all desperate for jobs.
It depends on the job.
Yeah, if you're not getting paid a living wage, it's like, well, this won't even help me.
Well, if you are excited to get back out there, do things with other human beings, I don't understand it. But people seem to enjoy it. And I guess this news is good, but if you scratch it just a little bit under the surface, this is the terrifying thing that we were assured was never going to happen, no matter how bad things got.
NBA aims for full arenas for 2021-2022 with increased testing and vaccines. So what the NBA aims to do, apparently, is to put a company in charge of keeping an eye on whether or not you're vaccinated and testing you on the spot and sending you away. That doesn't seem dark at all. And that definitely seemed like the NBA managing, those are technically medical records. The NBA managing those medical records, that seems reasonable.
Now, I'm sure this company they're talking about, or the NBA, or the arena, or whoever, is not going to try and keep that data.
Forever and ever and ever,
Yeah.
and it's not going to leak like the LinkedIn data or the Facebook data?
It says the teams aren't required to use the program, but I bet most will.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it comes down to the arenas more than the teams, because the arenas are the ones who have to enact all of this. So
I think most of the fans look, Michael Jordan requires a pint of your blood before you enter the arena. They'll be like, you know what? I'm an anemic, but sign me up. It's fine.
How crazy do you
man.
think these games are going to be? Like,
Well, they also
people are going
point
to
out,
be getting rowdy, right?
well, they point out that they might do sectioned seating, and you would have socially distanced anti-vax.
Smoking and non-smoking is
Yeah,
vax.
yeah. But the vax section could be maskless, and they could just go as wild as they want. But the anti-vax section would have to be quiet and wear their masks and distance. I think unless you can't fill up the arena, you just start eliminating anti-vax seating, right? Because you lose money on it.
Yeah.
How many couches are going to get burnt once that all starts up again?
Well, they do that when they're happy. I don't know if they do that when they're angry.
I'm not saying because they're angry. I'm just saying, like, woohoo! I've been cooped up in my house for
Oh,
a
yeah.
year. Like,
There will
I'm
be
really going to get crazy this time.
a lot of pent-up couch burning, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you burn like 3 couches in one night, or do you space that out over the course of a month?
Just burn one cushion a night. Really, like, get your full life out of that couch before you...
Going to maximize the toxic pollutants to the atmosphere.
Yeah.
You don't want to be wasteful during the chip shortage. You don't know if the couches are even being made at this point.
Can you recycle a couch into some of the missing circuits? That would be funny.
A smart couch. Signal has become one of the very popular messaging apps because people have lost faith in a lot of other ones. However, a lot of the Signal supporters didn't care for this announcement. I think they're trying to figure out how to monetize it, and a lot of people don't like this.
Signal is testing a payments feature that lets you send cryptocurrency to friends. Only if you're in the UK, and it only supports one type of coin at this point, but it is an interesting pilot nonetheless.
It seems to be really, really important to a lot of people to send money to other people through their phones.
Yeah. Or just send money from, one person to another. I get that.
You know what we should do? We should come up with some system where we have like physical markers for money that we can just exchange. Seems like that would solve that. I know that we're really beating this horse, and it's not dead yet. It lives. It's not moving, but it is living. And it seems like maybe we now know the date of when it will actually be decided.
This headline is the results of Debian vote on Stallman to be known by the 17th of April. That's literally all you need to know. Moving on to the next story.
And we actually also talked about this, but the last time we talked about it, it was they're probably going to do this.
Yeah.
Well, they did it.
Yeah. LG will shut down smartphone business in July to focus on smart home and robotics. Abandoning a lucrative thing for a speculative market? Okay.
But I think that's the terrifying thing about it. I don't think it's that speculative. I think the smart home stuff is so in demand, and that's terrifying.
The smart home stuff is in demand until somebody buys it, realizes that it's a scam, and then they never buy anything again.
Even my older relatives are into that kind of thing. Like, my aunt and uncle have like the whole camera set up and things like that, and the Alexa, and they're like, "Oh, we love it." I'm like, "It's spying on you. Take it out of your house."
Not only that, but it's going to break in like a year or two.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure out a solution for my parents to enjoy streaming music, but they just can't deal with the interface.
Like Spotify, yeah.
Especially on a phone. And I actually, for a while there, I was like, should I just get them an Alexa? I mean, what do they have to hide at this point? Just let them enjoy the music.
You don't want to know what they've got to hide.
Well, I'll never have to know. Only Jeff Bezos has to know. The Mandalorian. You ever watch The Mandalorian?
I never did.
I thought it was a decent show for what it was. You know, I mean, it was a fun little romp and adventure. But it was the most popular show of 2020 and also the most pirated. And because of that, you can imagine the Disney algorithms are working overtime. And as usual, they overreach.
Film company targets Torrent Freak article over the Mandalorian piracy. We literally reported on this last week. And the story that we reported on last week was picked up by the algorithm. And it's like, oh, they're pirating it here because they're talking about it. They weren't.
So there it is. That is the article that we read last week and told you about. And when Disney saw that, they said, torrent is in the URL and Mandalorian?
86 it.
Gotta go. And as usual, Torrent Freak has not been able to reach anybody on the phone. It's all automated. You can't stop it.
Well, they mentioned it's not Disney who actually issued the takedown request. It's some other company.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Disney's totally fine with that.
But they also can't get in touch with that company.
Yeah.
GFM and Torrent Freak couldn't figure out who GFM was. So I'm sure it's just a doing business as subsidiary of actual Disney. They probably just don't want to pay those employees the full benefit package.
Yeah.
Deliveroo. We don't have Deliveroo here, right?
No, I don't think so.
Is that a Europe thing? I'm pretty sure Europe only. They did something phenomenally stupid. And you could argue that Volkswagen got some decent press.
It's an hilarious stupid.
And
yeah,
it made you think about Volkswagen, right? You took a look at that car and it was like, oh yeah, they got electric cars now. So maybe there was some good press there in amongst all the bad press. Can you see any positives from this?
No, this is awful.
Deliveroo's April Fool's joke backfires in France. What was their April Fool's joke? Everybody got an email that said, oh, your Deliveroo 450-pound order is going through, which is a lot. It's a lot of food. So people were freaking out, trying to decline payment, turn the app off. They say it was just an April Fool's joke.
This would have made me very upset.
Really, really bad idea.
Yeah.
These marketing agencies, man, what are they doing? They're trying to get the headline.
Yeah.
And they did.
I mean, we're talking about it.
They miscalculated this one. Yeah, we're talking about it, but on the whole, doesn't that make you way less likely to ever think about using Deliveroo?
Yeah, because it's like, oh, what else are they using my data for?
Yep.
What other horrible April Fool's joke will they play on me?
Do you think they actually put those stickers on pizza? They did. The Prime Video one looks like it's curved perfectly.
I mean, that could just be a good... Maybe it's just a really great stock photo.
Engagement challenge. Is this actual stickers or is this just really good? But ISPs, now that we're through the pandemic, like we've talked about so many times before, all of the little concessions they made to us, to give us more bandwidth and let us have a little bit more, drink a little bit more from that faucet, they are now ripping back. And they have some really hilarious reasons as to why.
Ars Technica ISP imposes data cap and explains to its users with a condescending pizza analogy. WoW, if you have that ISP, my condolences, tells users that exceeding the data cap is like taking an extra slice of pizza. Except it's not. Bandwidth is not a finite resource.
So you can actually read the little letter here that they sent out to people. Oh, it's so exciting. Wow. And basically they're just telling you, pay us more money. Data caps. We're actually really lucky to not be data capped, but I feel like they're throttling me.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do.
Cause I can't even
You get
Twitch
screwed
stream.
every time you try to stream. Yeah.
When you exceed 1 terabyte, your bandwidth will drop to about 50 megabit. They just,
But it's not the calendar month.
yeah.
It's because like I was at the end of March and the beginning of April, they were giving me 10 megabytes instead of whatever 28 that I'm getting. And then one day it was just okay. But then I couldn't Twitch stream.
Yeah.
I wish
Sounds about right.
I wish they would just show me a meter or something.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's true. Sure, that's coming. That was a marathon.
That was a marathon.
51 minutes. Wow, we got through that actually pretty quickly.
Well, we were trying.
Friday's going to be one of those weird days where it's everything else. We haven't done robot, we haven't done social media, and we haven't done nonsense.
Nonsense.
Exciting times. We'll see you Friday.
Woo. Bye.